Hello, and welcome to day 2 of our trek through Acts chapter 23. And we have some very interesting Greek today. This is one of those days, there aren't that many of them really, where the Greek is really important to even get a shot at understanding what is actually being said. So let's launch right in. So Paul is before the Sanhedrin. He, of course, was accused of taking a Greek taking a non-Jew into the temple. There was a mob. He was in the barracks. And now the Chiliarch, the leader of 1,000, the commander, has taken Paul to the Sanhedrin. He wants to get to the bottom of what's going on here. And so Paul got slapped yesterday in the reading right before this. Paul says, "The Lord will slap you, you whitewashed wall." You know, that's the high priest, Paul. Oh, sorry, not supposed to talk bad about the leader of your people. And so here we are, verse 6. And Paul, having known that, having recognized that the one part is of Sadducees and the different part of Pharisees, he was crying out in the Sanhedrin. Okay, this is funny. Listen to the podcast if you haven't. I talk a lot about this here, but let's kind of focus on the Greek. So this is gnous. It's gnosko, but we're missing an iota, so it's not a present participle. It's an aorist participle, nominative masculine singular, aorist active participle. Paul, having known. So he realizes that it's a divided house, half Sadducees, or maybe not half, but part Sadducee, part Pharisee. So he basically says, quote, "Men, brothers, I'm a Pharisee, the son of Pharisees, concerning the hope and the resurrection, or concerning the hope even of resurrection of the dead, I am being judged." And of course, the Sadducees are like, there is no resurrection of the dead. And the Pharisees are like, wait a minute, let's hear this guy. Let's not judge him too quickly. I use this Pharisee in the present tense. I doubt very seriously that Paul still considers himself a Pharisee at this point. But he's a good practical kind of guy. Son of Pharisees is interesting. Apparently his parents considered themselves to be Pharisees. And of course, they did pay for him to go live in Jerusalem and be raised at the feet of the famous Pharisees like Gamaliel. So this is quite plausible. Pharisees believe in resurrection. Sadducees don't. They're very sad, you see. Okay, I am being judged. So this is present passive indicative. I am being judged. Present passive indicative, first singular. Verse 7. And him saying this, genitive absolute, a stasis, a strife, a controversy came to be. Again, at all, I hope you know by now. Aorist, that's right. Deponent, because it's gen o my. Indicative, yes. Third singular, very good. Okay, so a great division came about of Pharisees and Sadducees, and the multitude, or the crowd, was divided. Schism. Theta eta is aorist passive. This is third singular from schizo. Aorist passive indicative. Okay, let's keep going. And now this is the verse. Very interesting verse. For Sadducees, Zadukaioi, on the one hand, for the Sadducees, they say, present, nomic present, probably present active indicative, third plural, they say not to be resurrection. They say there isn't a resurrection. We're good on that. We understand that. Mark 12, we know. Matthew, when is it 23? No, 22, somewhere in there. We know that Sadducees don't believe in resurrection. But here's the thing, neither angel nor spirit, but Pharisees confess the both. Now, the both suggests that angel and spirit go together. And notice the meta. So this is not, in my opinion, this is not a Sadducees don't believe in resurrection, comma, angel, comma, spirit, comma. But the Pharisees confess all three. That's not what's going on here, I don't think the grammar implies. It's more like there should be a colon here. For they say that there isn't a resurrection, colon, neither an angel resurrection nor a spirit resurrection. As I mentioned in the podcast, Acts 12 seems to imply a sense that at least in the intermediate state, and maybe in resurrection, there were Jews who believed that when you die, you take on an angel kind of body. N.T. Wright, I mentioned there, argues, but you can see the grammar here. It says there's not a resurrection, neither angel nor spirit resurrection would be the most natural way to read this, I think. But the Pharisees confess both, that is, confess both angel and spirit forms of afterlife. So, deeply controversial verse. N.T. Wright in Resurrection of the Son of God talks about it, and he argues that these are intermediate states. There's another article I read in the 90s, I think it was, in Journal of Biblical Literature that argues that these are forms of resurrection. It convinced me once upon a time. But again, all interpretations need to be revisable in the light of further reflection or evidence. Verse 9, and it came to pass, there's the aorist deponent of ginomai again, a great shout. So this is pretty heavy stuff here. And having stood up, this is the aorist participle of anistemi, aorist active participle, nominative masculine plural, certain of the scribes of the part of the Pharisees. So apparently you have Pharisees, you have Sanhedrin, you have Pharisees, you have scribes within that. We're fighting, fight, diamakomai, I think it is. So this would be imperfect. Saying, present active participle, quote, we are finding nothing bad in the man this. And if a spirit spoke to him or an angel, what if? What about it? And a great strife, a great conflict coming to be. This is also genitive absolute, but this is the present of ginomai. The Chiliarch, having been afraid lest Paul should be divided asunder. So this is an aorist passive, although it's phobeomai, its deponent, but aorist passive in form, participle, nominative masculine singular. The Chiliarch, afraid lest Paul should be torn asunder. So this is a subjunctive, aorist passive subjunctive, third person singular. Probably there's a missing hina here that would explain why this would be subjunctive, but you can translate may as lest in some cases when it goes with the subjunctive, which works out well here. By them, agency. The Chiliarch commanded, sen, as aorist active indicative, third singular. He commanded the troops, having gone down, to seize him from the midst of them. So this is a participle. It's aorist active participle from katabaino, neuter accusative singular. It goes with this, which is neuter accusative singular also. To seize, this is aorist because of the sigma alpha, aorist active infinitive. To seize him from the midst of them, and to lead, to be leading, present active infinitive, him into the barracks. Okay, well, that ended quick. Brilliant strategy on Paul's part, and the Lord helped, no doubt. Verse 11, and on the following night, having appeared to him, epistemi, having stood before him, this is an aorist active participle, nominative masculine singular. The Lord said, aping an aorist, quote, Tharse, be bold. This is present active imperative, second person singular. There's been a crash here. Epsilon of tharseo, I think, with the epsilon ending. Be bold, for For as you have witnessed the things concerning me in Jerusalem. So this is a form that I had to think about for a second, because O looks like a first person singular, and that's not what works here. The epsilon is a clue, dia martureo. So there's an epsilon that's crashed, perhaps. But that epsilon would indicate some kind of a past tense. So then I remembered that in the aorist, the second person singular is an omega. And so that is a second person singular. There's no sigma, of course, because liquid verbs don't do sigmas. So this is aorist, active indicative, second singular from dia martureo, I assume. No, dia marturo. Yeah. There's no contract. Okay. The things concerning him, neuter plural alpha, into Jerusalem. Thus, it is necessary for you also into Rome to witness. So this is the aorist. Actually, it might be dia martureo because of that. That's like a lengthened epsilon. Anyway, okay. So, man, this is aorist active infinitive. I'll have to look it up. Hold on for a second. It is dia martureo. Perhaps the aorist form doesn't do the Yeah, that's kind of weird. I'm not quite sure about what happened here, because I can't. The only thing that contracts with to form an omega is an omega. Okay, so I'm going to go with my analysis here and just assume it has to do with the aorist form of this word, and then I'll have it from there. Okay, well, this has been Acts 23, verse 6 through 11.